Hey everyone, welcome to the Kontent Rocks podcast. This is your host, Brian McKeiver. I'm very happy today to be doing another episode of the podcast I love. This podcast is all about content by Kentco, a fantastic headless CMS. And we also work in a little .NET and Azure and a few other things from time to time. I'm excited today because I'm joined by a couple of good friends. I have John and Brad from Slotwall Commerce. Hey guys, how's it going?
Not too bad. How are you?
Brian, how are you?
Good. The three of us today are going to be talking about a subject that's very near and dear to my heart, which is headless commerce and how you do that in a headless environment or headless solution. And I'm excited because these guys are experts in doing just that thing. And I also have a little bit of experience myself with putting together, headless CMS and headless commerce and doing other things to make a very modern solution for clients, for all the clients that we work with. But before I go too much further, I do want to let Brad and John introduce themselves because they've taken some time out of their day to join me. So, Brad, John, why don't you introduce yourselves to the audience in case they don't know who you are or who Slotwall Commerce is?
Sure. Yeah. So Slotwall is a headless commerce platform, as you just mentioned. We tend to have a specialty and a focus more on the B2B side, but there's certainly, given where we are today, there's certainly lots of clients that do a lot in the B2B space that are certainly do some B2C direct to consumer storefronts as well. And we work with different stores and businesses sort of all over, from startups all the way up to enterprises, really wherever there's a need and wherever traditional commerce platforms don't sort of work, whether that's they have a unique need or they sort of outgrown them. And at Slotwall, I'm the CMO. John?
John Gibbs, Partner Program Manager at Slotwall Commerce. Just a little context from my background. Been a developer the last 5 to 8 years or so, building out web solutions and content management systems. With Slotwall, the same amount of years as well. So more so having a developer background, but now also working with our partners, which is great. So for me, it's been a fun ride because while we talk about headless commerce, it's always great to understand what are agencies using, how are they solving problems, with what tech stacks, what platforms are they using, how do they address those pain points, not only for themselves when they're looking at solutions, but so that they can provide those answers to their customers at the end of the day.
Well, great. Fantastic. And I know, John, that's why you and I can be friends. It's our whole developer backgrounds that we can pair up on and talk about. And sorry, Brad, we'll try not to get too technical for you today.
Hey, I'm a former dev too, so I know how it goes.
All right, good. That's fair. And I think that's, before we get rolling into the main topic, which is talking about the value of headless commerce, I want to give you guys the opportunity to do one kind of cool announcement that I heard that's been coming in your world. So go ahead. Why don't you let the audience know what cool things do you have going on over there at Slotwall?
Yeah, so our big announcement is Slotwall has just been acquired by another commerce company out of Australia called Ultra Commerce. Really exciting to see where we're going to head with that. Ultra has a lot of cool technology around some really hot sort of e-commerce areas right now. They do a lot with marketplaces. They have a really great order management tool. So all, especially on the order management side, there's always an area where it gets overlooked, especially as companies are growing and they develop a real pain point there. Ultra's got some really cool technology there. So that's gonna be really great to pair that with some of the areas where Slotwall is really strong, particularly with headless. We tend to do a lot more in the mid-market space as well. And then we have some other really slick features and functionality around reporting and analytics and subscription commerce. So it's going to be a really great partnership. It'll be a lot of fun, coming together as a new company and kind of going from there. But certainly the commerce platform and the offering is going to be a really strong, competitive one in the marketplace.
Well, congrats. I'm very happy for you guys. I know it's really kind of a neat combination anytime that you can put two really good commerce platforms together and get the best of what we need to do in 2021 and further. So I think let's use that as a segue then. And when someone needs to bring a digital storefront to life, they have a couple choices in today's world, right? They could do traditional CMS, traditional e-commerce, traditional DXP all in one, where it's a more classic installation of e-commerce. They could look at other services that are out there that handle it all for them, or they could kind of basically do something that maybe opens up a lot of flexibility from a developer standpoint or even a marketer standpoint, and kind of put together a best of breed solution. So, when it comes to headless commerce, to me, that's what it really means. It means having a service that is the best at what it does, and consuming that service in ways that maybe not everyone has even thought of, but it works for me in my scenario, in my application. And that's what we recommend for our clients at Bistro. I'm very excited about that because it's kind of a really good way to do things in today's world. But when you guys think about that, like, how would you describe to someone who isn't sure, what headless commerce really is, or what value it gives them? How would you guys describe it?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, what it comes down to is, where a company is sort of looking at their storefront and where they want to take it, and maybe where some of the challenges are. There are certainly cases where, it sort of comes down to, you look at your audience. There's the development and the tech team, and maybe that's an agency or an internal team. And then there's the marketing, the business team, the merchandising, marketing, promotions, all those more business users. And at the end of the day, regardless of the setup that you've got, whether it's an all-in-one or a headless solution, you really need both of those teams to be happy with what they've got. And it needs to help them get it done, right? The tech team needs to be able to build and manage and maintain and secure a really powerful storefront that's going to grow and change over time. Because, Brian, whatever you launch with on day 1, by day 20, by day 60, it's going to be different, right? And it should be, right? Because it's going to change.
Yep.
And the same thing goes for on the marketing side. The marketing team needs to be able to get into the CMS, in all likelihood, get in there, move content around, publish blog posts, set up different landing pages, different campaigns, take products and put them on a page or put them in a banner, create a banner, move things around, all that stuff. And I think what we've seen historically is that there are platforms and there are solutions that do one of those really well, and the other one sort of like an afterthought. The storefront goes live and the development team is really happy, and then the marketing team goes in and they're like, hey, we want to create a banner and we can't. Okay, I guess we can, but we got to go talk to the devs to do that. And then no one's happy because the dev team doesn't want to be bothered and the marketing team wants more control.
Or what's worse, they actually duplicate the content. They retype in the product name. They retype in a price.
Exactly.
And maybe they don't do it perfectly. And now you have disconnected copy over here and content over here and products over here that aren't actually the real thing. Over time, something changes, and it just turns into basically a disaster.
Yeah. Yeah. And of course that builds over time, right? Because they're not just doing it once, they're doing it, every month. And so, really what you need to get that done is you got to have, and you said it perfectly, a best of breed. It's a really solid content platform that can deliver and do a great job with content. And then you need to have, backing that up and integrated well to it, you need to have a commerce system. And, and then sort of you step back further from that, then you start to think about, well, the content that you have you may need to publish content to other places. Maybe you've got a third-party blog someplace else, or publish on a different channel, or maybe you're pushing content to a mobile app, or it's not just a simple connection between the two. And on the commerce side, maybe you're pushing product out to a marketplace, or you're selling on another storefront, or any other type of scenario, right? There's that whole multi-channel, multi-site approach, and that's not going away. It's just getting more and more complicated over time. So the last thing that you want to do is then have, to your point about duplicate content, right, is duplicate sites somewhere. You've got one system, one vendor that's supporting one storefront, one that's supporting another, and then maybe the product catalogs are the same, maybe they aren't, who knows? And then the same thing on the content side. It can get really messy really quickly if you don't have that integration capability and that flexibility to have those two platforms that can power all of that together and work really well together as well.
Yep.
I think one of the things from my standpoint, when I think of headless commerce, so oftentimes it's driven by developers or from a development standpoint, which there's a lot of enthusiasm and passion, but the marketing, from a marketing standpoint, from the e-commerce management standpoint, as a business user going in, is just as important. So, you know, a lot of times from a business use case, you know, there might be developers advocating for a headless commerce approach, but I think what needs to be taken into consideration is, all right, so what sort of marketing tools are available for me from a commerce standpoint? When I think of like the customer journey experience, you know, what business tools do I have available at my disposal within this space of headless commerce that can make sure I do the thing I want to do, the things that I can do, that I can launch, you know, content CMS page and merchandise products, you know, the way I want to, and launch campaigns. So all those things need to be taken into consideration with the headless commerce approach when you're marrying content and commerce together.
Yep. And that's a perfect way to segment into our next part of the discussion today, putting those two things together. I'm really excited because I've had a chance to look at what your team has done to put your solution together with Kontent by Kentico and actually have that integrated one place where we can manage these things, publish content all in one shot, and deliver a commerce site that is really good at both CMS content and commerce. So I think we should segue into that, guys. I heard you might have a demo to show of a little bit of that integration or a little bit of the Slotwall solution. Do you mind throwing that up on the screen? And if you're listening,
yeah, absolutely.
What we're
always something fun to talk about.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So if you do that, I will then add it into the stream, and hopefully everyone can watch it while we do this. Okay, I see that coming in. I'm clicking add, and there we go. Yeah, Brad, I can see what looks like a website.
That is right. So, you know, one of the things that comes up quite a bit when we, and I'm sure for you as well, Brian, when we start talking, you know, headless CMS and a headless commerce setup is, well, you know, that all sounds great, but what does it actually look like? You know, what am I going to see? How can I sort of describe that? And I think the challenging part is, you know, where do you sort of start? You know, in sort of thinking about that. Do you start on the content side? Do you start on the commerce side? And what happens if, you know, you're happy with one or the other? You know, if you've already got that site running and it has a look and feel that maybe you're happy with, but maybe there's, you know, some need, you know, a pain point. Well, you know, what can I do there? How can I kind of make that work? So what we built out is really two different pieces to I think sort of really illustrate that for people. So the first is we actually built a Storefront Starter Kit. It's available on GitHub. We'll share the link later. I actually have it open in this tab. So it's all open source. You can go and grab it either from our website, and I'm sure Brian's gonna publish the link, and grab it. It's built in React, and basically what you can do is using that starter kit, get up and running really quickly in a couple minutes. Connect it to a Slotwall storefront setup, and connect it to your Kontent by Kentico setup, and you're up and running. And it's going to give you the full sort of capability, a complete storefront. And I'll kind of click through it in a second. Everything from homepage, you know, different content banners, all the way through to a complete checkout, my account area. And really what you can sort of do with that is sort of take two different approaches. One is go in, grab some code snippets, drop it into, you know, a current theme if you've got that. Awesome. You can sort of learn along the way. Or the other is just, you know, use that as a proof of concept. It's a complete store. It works. Go in, turn on payment processing, set up your shipping. We've even got a sample product database if you want to use that, and you're off and running. And again, you can, you know, do it really in just a matter of minutes. We actually have on our a landing page on our site that gives you step-by-step on how to get set up and get running. And then the other piece is, while that's great to have that storefront starter kit, really, you know, what it comes down to is, well, when you're in content, you know, how do you pull product data into, you know, some of the different pieces of content that you're creating? And really, you know, a true sort of, you know, use case for that, you know, is something like this, like a featured product banner, like I've got set up on the homepage, right? We've seen it everywhere. You know, it's a great example of, yeah, I'm on my homepage, and I want to have a slider, and I want to click through, and I want to maybe assign or update some products to that. So what we've actually done with the plugin is it's a custom element. You can see I've done a search here for home. We created one here. It's got its own product type to it. If I actually click into that, you'll see it actually load up that content. And then down below, you actually now have, you know, live product data being pulled directly from our Slotwall demo site. I've got 6 products assigned there. It's all up to the minute. You know, there's no delay, no caching, anything like that. This is actually also showing products that, you know, are eligible to be sold. So you don't need to worry about adding a product or assigning a product here that maybe, you know, isn't, you know, published or active or something like that. But I can go in now and I can actually say, you know, I want to update this content. And now what it's going to do for me is load up this custom element. And what's great is not only can I search within this to find other products that I might want to add to my page, but I can also do that by like category. So I can go in and say, yeah, show me all the volleyball products. And I will actually go and fetch all of them. And down below, I can actually do that by product type as well, by brand. So, you know, there's no need to go in and, you know, try to remember a product code and type that into a text field and say, yeah, this is the one I want. Right. It's a real visual editor for all of this. And what I'm able to do is go through, and just like with a shopping cart, I can pick the items that I want to assign to the page and add. And now I've got another one showing up. I can remove it if I want. If I go up here and hit save, I've now saved that back to my draft. And if I go up and actually publish that, we'll see the update live on the site in a matter of seconds. So, you know, this is, you know, of course, a pretty straightforward example. Let me just refresh of how that works. But, you know, the idea that, you know, my team can go in and actually define, you know, what products are going to show up and when is pretty powerful, you know, to be able to have that access on my featured gallery. And then within, you know, again, the complete storefront kit. So
just to step back for a sec.
Yep.
So that's one use case example that Brad mentioned where, hey, like we have this sweet homepage gallery. We want to throw some products in there that we want to feature. But when you think about the marketing person or the e-commerce manager, maybe they're running a storefront. Hey, I want to launch a content CMS page. And, you know, we have some products that are, you know, we want to get off the shelf. Maybe we want a specials page or something like that. So the idea that I, the marketing person, can go into the content CMS, I create a page, and I have a very deep integration to be able to pull those products the way Brad showed you with that custom element product picker. You know, that's one thing that when we were building this, we thought of from that person's viewpoint was to say, you know, gee, wouldn't it be nice to provide them a super easy way to be able to, you know, find those products by whatever criteria, by brand, by product type, by category, select multiple products, like Brad was saying, as opposed to just, you know, kind of searching one-offs or filtering. And if you think about it, the product picker that he showed you a lot resembles this product listing page that you're seeing on the front end. So the same way that a customer on the front end is going to go shopping, you know, that e-commerce or marketing person is seeing on the back end too. It just makes the experience completely fluid to be able to do that. So the level of depth that we decided to go with this integration to make that process seamless was taken into consideration a lot. Now, another example down the road, as we keep iterating through this, you know, maybe that person wants to pull back products on a custom CMS page by even more defined criteria. So Brad showed you the example of, I got my baseballs or I got my volleyballs by a particular brand, but maybe now I want to show pull back products, you know, based on a certain price or some kind of criteria or metric. So the point being is to create that control and flexibility. That's the, you know, low code, no code way for a marketing person to be able to do that at their disposal without knocking on the door of a developer. It just makes the experience fluid.
Yeah, guys, I gotta admit, this is really cool. I mean, this is probably one of the best custom elements that I've seen from an integration standpoint in the market for content. I really like how it's not just kind of like a basic list, which I've seen before, or it's not just only pick one product to fill in one value of an element on a content item. It's a multi-select. It's got filters. It's got the user experience that actually makes it look a little bit like the live site if you want it to, or the head of your solution if you want it to. But it's fantastic. And I'm assuming that you also do need your Slotwall instance kind of up and running to support this at the same time, right? So you kind of have to have all the pieces together to be able to get the custom element to do the integration the right way.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. And the nice thing too about the way that this is set up is in terms of, a data load on content. There's no e-commerce data that's stored or kept in content. So there's a real true dividing line between the two systems. So you don't have to worry about, oh wait, well, I've got product data here, I've got product data there. No, they're completely, delineated. And the amount of data that you're storing, to power this grid, and here's that product that I added, I added this volleyball, it's simple. It's just a list of, products that have been selected. And then when that gets returned to the front end for whatever page that I have, and let's just go to the specials page that John referenced, there's 7 products or 6 products here. All you're doing is just going out, Content's delivering you a list of those IDs, and Slotwall is going to return whatever data that you need. So maybe an image, a title, the code, a price. That's about it. There's no, and not only that, but you have, as that dev team, the ability to be really efficient about the amount of data that you're requesting from Slotwall to deliver. So you can create a really streamlined, really fast experience. And I'm sure everyone noticed as I was sort of clicking through, and John was giving the example of some of the product listing pages, but it's pretty speedy. As I'm sort of going through some of the different pages here, the idea that Headless is slow or isn't necessarily going to work for you, it doesn't have to be the case. If you can get your hands on building it sort of the right way, and certainly using the Storefront kit as a model, you can end up with a really great solution that ticks all the boxes. It's SEO friendly, it's fast, it's exactly the layout that you want, and sort of if you can pull that off, everybody wins.
Yep. And speaking of building it, we also have some source code available to us. It looks like on this GitHub repo that I'm putting the link here at the bottom of the screen right now. That's the code for the storefront. I'm actually showing that at the GitHub repo. So we've got a couple options to get started, right? You can just go with the starter kit. You can look at the source code. And this is fantastic. But we are kind of running out of time today, so guys. So what I want to kind of wrap it up with is, if you do want to learn more, we are throwing out there that go visit slotwallcommerce.com/content. That's got a great place to kind of get started and understand maybe what your options are. I'm sure if you're curious about Slotwall, you can also reach out to John and Brad directly. And guys, maybe if both of you could answer this, what's the best way for anyone who's curious about this to get a hold of you?
Yeah, certainly. Reach out. You can find both of us on the Slotwall site. If you hit up our team page, it's got links to LinkedIn, and certainly always drop us in. Feel free to drop an email either via the contact form on the website, certainly any comments or feedback on either the plugin or the storefront. Always happy for contributions if anyone wants to make any sort of open source contributions as well to anything that we've built, happy for feedback on that as well.
Yeah, one thing I just want to add, Brian, even with the React starter templates, that those are public. So for any developers out there who are curious to get their feet wet and dive in, if you want a Slotwall sandbox stood up and you want to dive in, you can get up and running with a storefront in a matter of minutes. And that's really what we strive to do here, between not just the integration with Kontent CMS, but having this starter template kit on React that's super speedy and snappy, like we've been saying, to do a POC or something. So, come talk to us. We'd love to get your feedback and appreciate it.
Well, awesome. I appreciate your time today, guys. Thanks for joining Kontent Rocks. Also, congratulations on the big announcements. I'm sure there's maybe some champagne popping somewhere behind the scenes that you guys are going to be able to enjoy. I also forgot to mention, I don't want to leave this out. you guys are both going to be joining myself at the Horizons conference for Kontent coming up in a couple days even. It's like November 10th here in the US. So if you're listening to the podcast and you actually just want to talk to John and Brad, join the conference. It's a free conference. You can register at horizons.content.ai. We will all be there. And, you know, we might even have a session or a panel to talk about through some of these things as well. So please do that. Again, thank you guys. I wish you the best for the rest of your days. And I will let you go. We will call this the last part of the episode. And thank you very much for listening.
Thanks a lot, Brian.
Thank you very much.
Okay. All right.